Welcome back to another edition of Summit Sit Down. This is part of our Explore the Summit series where we're taking a look at our member institutions each week during the fall. And week it's all about the Omaha Mavericks. And we are joined today on a diversity and inclusion Zoom chat with the head women's basketball coach, Carrie Banks, the senior woman administrator at Omaha, Lindsay Ekwereku, and our senior defender on the men's soccer team, Gonzalo Ledesma. Guys, thanks for joining us today. Excited to have you here. What we want to do is just go around and tell us why this is so important to you. Carrie, you were to my left, so you are first up.
Awesome. Well, it's just, it's something that's very important to me and very close to my heart because, when parents send their kids off to school, they're coming here to play basketball, but they're coming here to get an education in the classroom and in life. And so just making sure that as the future leaders of our country, that they are not living in a bubble and that they are in tune with what's going on in the world and that we are educating them and empowering them and giving them a platform to be agents of change. So I think that, one of the really cool things with right now, it's kind of a crazy time to take over a program, but with everything going on in the world and us kind of, being in this pandemic and inside, everything has slowed down and we can really focus our attention to, kind of some of these social justice issues and other things that are happening in our world and have conversations and educate ourselves and just make sure that we are, empathetic to what's going on with other groups and other communities. So very important to me. It's something I'm very passionate about and I don't take it lightly, and I'm happy that I have this platform to share and communicate and educate our team.
I'll piggyback off that. Coach is right on with that. We live obviously in a diverse world, a diverse, society, and the student population that we show up for every day, particularly our student athlete population, is a diverse population. And so, that's our mission. We're charged with that to not only, protect them and very fundamentally make them feel safe. Like that's fundamental, right? But also respected and valued and heard and proud of who they are, where they're from, and kind of their background and their own experiences, and recognizing that they all have unique experiences. And so, safety and all that is just fundamental. So we want to celebrate and take pride in who our student athletes are. And I think that's really where we're at right now, as we're trying to get to a point where we can listen to understand, we can listen to recognize how our students and our staff feel, and then go from there in terms of what we can do as a department to further support that. So, that's what we say every day. That's why we're here, right? We are here for our student athletes during their time here to make it better and just help them learn and grow as people. Sports are secondary, really. We're here for them as people. And I think that's kind of where we're at is how can we better support our student athletes.
Perfect. And Gonzalo, you got to feel good hearing that from your administration. And what does it mean to be a student athlete during this time and on a campus like Omaha where they're taking this thing seriously and trying to make some change?
Yeah, well, just listening to that, I just want to say that I think they do a great job. I know that most of our teammates are from different backgrounds and everything. I feel like they do such a great job by, like she said, educating us. And I mean, as students, we're trying to absorb all that knowledge and how they treat us. And hopefully one day we can pass that on.
Perfect. So Lindsay, you kind of touched on it, but what's going on Omaha's campus? What's going on within the athletic department to keep this momentum going?
Sure. This summer we came together as an exec staff and just decided that, recognize there's a need for, right now we're calling it Everyone for Omaha. It's our anti-racism group, and the hope that expands to not just race, right, but all sorts of diversity. And we just had people volunteer who wanted to step up and serve on that committee. And we have a representative from every sport, over 25 members. And we, created a mission statement and a purpose and some initiatives and action items. And I think, we partnered with a professor on campus in our Black Studies department and we sought outside help. And we didn't want this administratively driven, so to speak, right? We wanted it to be a collective voice from our staff and our student athletes. And right now we're in the phase where we're just listening. You know, I think if you're too quick to action, the action may not be genuine or meaningful, right? And so we're trying to promote meaningful change. And so we've spent some time, and that's the phase we're in right now, is surveying our student athletes. Kind of where are we at? What are we doing well? What aren't we doing well? What are maybe some trends that we're going to see through this next semester in terms of where they need support? So our goal right now is just to shut up and listen. And value everybody's personal experience and everybody's perspective, right? So we have a lot of them. That's what makes our world and specifically our department, our job so fun, is like everybody's different. And so we're really taking some time to listen. And then the other piece to our particular mission for this year, our goals for this year, is we're going to work on some voter education, some voting, removing barriers. So our coaches collectively have agreed to give our student athletes that day off to ensure that they can get to a place to vote. And so we're working on, like I said, voter education and registration and things of that nature, working very closely with campus on the programming that they're providing as well. So we're excited. There's some good momentum, and obviously it's just a starting point, right? We're going to, every year, I think this will grow, and every year will continue, but that's where we're at right now.
Sounds great. Coach Banks, being a first-year head coach, you kind of talked about challenges coming in being a coach during this time, and then you have all this pandemic, and then you have this social injustice on top of it. How has it been for you in that transition, and what have you seen from your team as far as coming together and really getting behind all this?
Sure. Yeah, no, like I said, it's a tough time to transition, but one of the things that I really respect about my team is that it seemed like they somewhat had a pulse on what was going on, without me even bringing it up. We have 3 kids that are from Minnesota, so they were very close to the George Floyd situation. So, kind of like what Lindsay said, we had a conversation about it and what was going on. And, I certainly have an opinion and strong views about it, but I also really wanted to listen to them and just kind of give them a platform to, share how they were feeling and how, it affected them and the people around them, and just having people in that community where it really, really hit home. I just wanted to make sure that they were okay, but I also wanted to encourage them, hey, there's some really cool things happening in our country right now with people using their voice to stick up for marginalized groups. And I encourage you to do that, but I encourage you to do it respectfully in a way that is aligned with the law. And so I wanted to make that point clear to them, but also wanted to empower them that, hey, this is okay. This is, in fact, it's really great. It's what leadership is made of. And then I also wanted to share with them, hey, listen, we're a family, right? So if one member of your family is hurting, then it is up to you to find out why they're hurting and educate yourself on that particular issue. So down the road, there may be another, cause that is close to somebody's heart, and I just wanted them to understand that we're going to support you, we're going to educate ourselves, and we are, going to be there with you, through anything. And so I just wanted to make sure that they felt supported, that they felt that they had a voice, and the conversation went really well. And I was just happy that I got to sit back and do a lot of listening, because they did most of the talking on that day.
For sure. And listening and hearing from your team and watching them grow throughout all this, what are some maybe action items that you guys are planning to take or have taken so far?
For sure. Well, like the first thing, and we talk about voting because this is a big year for that, was making sure that everybody is registered to vote. We're going to just talk about educating yourself on the voting process and how to become more educated on the candidates. We actually have a talk planned for later this week to just kind of, just an update, just again, to see how they're feeling about, there's things continue to happen in our country, and how they're feeling and how they can be involved in that. And just to make sure that they feel like, hey, because it doesn't affect me, I can sit back and just, not have to worry about it. I want them to discuss this. I want these to be meaningful conversations for them for the future, so that they don't ever feel like, hey, this is important. What we're learning now is important, and I need to be a leader. And if somebody's being mistreated or there's issues happening, I need to be a part of the solution. So I think just having the conversations is a big step for us.
I love that. Not to jump in, but Coach Banks, I love that. And what we're hearing her talk about, and you can tell we got pretty lucky, Coach Banks. We're so excited to have her here. But, empathy. I mean, that's where it starts, right? Having empathy. Just because something doesn't seemingly affect you directly, when it affects people, other human beings, period, but people that especially you care about and you go to battle with every day on that court or on that field, that's something that we're also thinking about training in that, right? Is just, guys, hey, we all struggle with whatever. Everybody has their own issues, but just being empathetic to people's feelings and situations. That's a teammate, right? That's what a teammate is. So I appreciate everything she says and in full agreement.
Yeah, for sure. And Gonzalo, I know the men's soccer Summit League teams got together earlier in the summer, came together, formed a working group, and you guys, were one of the front runners in doing an anti-racism campaign. So just talk a little bit about how that became a thing and how you guys, even though you're opponents and fighting each other on the field, you came together off the field to try to be one voice and to unite together.
Oh yeah, so we're in the anti-racism, and I think that started by, I would believe, Bob Warming, and I just want to thank him for being able to set that all up. But I think as like student athletes, I know that we have somewhat of a platform, and then to see other people struggling right now, and I think it was very important for us to be able to have our voice heard. So we kind of got together as a collective and put out that small video. And I know that it meant a lot to us that our voice is able to be heard, but that we were able to do that for not just our teammates, but for a lot of other people as well.
For sure. And what has just the Omaha men's soccer team continued to do throughout the last couple months? I know no fall season, unfortunately, but hopefully you guys can hit the pitch in spring and get on the field again. But what are you guys doing right now still to keep that momentum going?
I think for the most part, I think how Carrie and them said, I think we're just trying to right now just stay educated. I think that's the most important thing we can do right now is we might not be acting, but I think for right now, we're just trying to gain all that knowledge still and see what we can do later. But right now, I think it's just being educated on the whole situation.
For sure. That was great commentary from all three of you guys. Really appreciate it. Want to give you an opportunity here before we wind down. Anything else you want to use this platform to share, to express your, just feelings about this topic and to hopefully keep this thing going. But it sounds like things are in good shape at Omaha for sure, and you guys are doing some great things.
Yeah, we're by no means the experts. None of us, we all recognize that we all, no matter where you're at along the journey, right? Like nobody knows everything, right? Everybody has something to learn. And so that's the most important thing, right? Is recognizing that, being open to recognizing that, being open to hearing other people's perspectives. And I think that's where we're at. That can be that can be a sensitive process for people. It's not easy, right? It's not easy to hear some things that you may feel hit a little too close to home. But yeah, we're all passionate about it. I think I just think we're so lucky to work in athletics, period. But I feel like Omaha's pretty special. I feel like our staff and our student athlete group, it's just a really special group. So we want to honor that. We want to recognize our differences, and we want to learn. Like Gonzalo said, that's our biggest thing is how do we stay educated? There's not a lot of action that we can't really get out in the community just in terms of COVID and, risk and all that. But what can we do, like Coach Banks said, with some downtime? What can we do with this time that we do have on our hands? And that's what we're trying to work through and do the best that we can.
I really appreciate that everybody is taking time to educate themselves. I think that that's very important because, kind of like Lindsay said, nobody knows everything. And I think just taking your time to educate and then also the dialogue and, you know, really allowing yourself to be vulnerable and ask questions and just really like, hey, let's have a conversation without getting angry. But I really am trying to, you know, seek out more information and ways that I can be helpful. So just, you know, giving people that space where they can have those conversations, ask those questions and educate. I just think that that's really important. And I'm glad in light of this that we have taken steps to not only educate our student athletes, but our coaches and administrators as well. I think it's, you know, it's important that everybody is on board with this.
I'd like to say too that right now how they talked about voting, I think that's so important right now. And I think as a first, I'm gonna be able to vote for the first time, not because of my age, but because I became a U.S. citizen last year, and I think it's
Right.
Nice.
so I think it's so important for us to not just go out there and vote, but to make sure that you're educated before you go out there and vote. So I think that's so important that we're telling our teammates and everybody in our community to go out there and vote and get educated first. I think that's so important.
Perfect. Hey, that's great, Gonzalo. Congratulations on that. And I know that your department speaks highly of you, so really appreciate you and you opening up with us today. And Carrie, thanks for joining us. Lindsay, thanks for joining us. You guys were great. You made it my job easy, and I appreciate that. And it was great to hear what's going on at Omaha. And wish you guys continued success as we battle COVID, and hopefully we can return to competition here as soon as possible.
Hopefully we can start battling each other, right?
Yes, that would
Not
be
this virus.
No. Hey, thanks again, guys. You guys are great.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much.